Namah Shivaya, Om Amriteshwariye Namaha. My humble pranams at the love-bounded lotus feet of our beloved Amma. Amma says, true education is a training that helps us to understand ourselves. At the outset, we seek the blessings of Swamini Bhakti Priyamrita Pranaji, correspondent, Amrita Vidyalayams, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. Pranams Amma. We also seek the blessings of Swamini Muktamrita Pranaji, manager, Amrita Vidyalayams, Ettimadai, Nallambalayam and Kalapatti. Pranam Samma. We also take this opportunity to seek the blessings of Sri Muralidharan, Educational Officer, Amrita Vidyalayams, Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. On this occasion, we welcome you, sir. Pranam, sir. Next, I would like to welcome Dr. C. Arun Kumar, Assistant Professor, School of Computing, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Ettimadai. Sir is a recipient of award for the outstanding contribution from Amrita School of Engineering, Coimbatore in 2018. Sir is a member in Machine Intelligence Research Labs, USA. Sir is responsible for starting institutions of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineers, IET Student Forum in all engineering colleges and polytechnics in Tamil Nadu under the jurisdiction of IET. Sir has published more than 15 papers in leading national and international conferences and journals. Sir is the Executive Secretary for the International Conferences and Journals. Sir is also the recipient of Award for Outstanding Contribution from Amrita School of Engineering, Coimbatore in 2018. And Sir is the co-convener for ANOCA. We welcome you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you.
Next, I extend my warm welcome to our principal, sir, Sri Nedumaran, for taking initiative to organize such an informative program for teachers and students. Welcome you, sir. I also take this opportunity to welcome all the teachers and students from various Amrita Vidyalayams who are attending this Expert Connect program. Welcome you, teachers and students. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to one and all to this Expert Connect program. Welcome you all. Thank you. Om Namah Shivaya. Over to sir.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thank you. Yeah. So good afternoon. Namah Shivaya. So today's talk will basically be focused on the introduction to artificial intelligence and the AI project cycle. This being the first phase of the talk. So since we have very limited time, so let us start with the introduction to artificial intelligence. So due to the network things, so I'm just switching off my camera and I'm going to share the PPT. So I would request each of the in-charge faculty in the different Amrita Vidyalayams to kindly take a few photographs and share it in our group so that we can use it for our record purposes also. Yeah, so let us start the session. So to start with, since we are talking of AI, artificial intelligence, so the first thing what we have doubt is, what is intelligence? So humans have been developing machines which make our life much easy to do. So basically, any kind of a work that is very, very difficult for humans, or it is going to be time consuming, machines will be able to do those work for human. So we can say a machine is something that can share our load and it will make our job easier. So obviously life without machines is going to be unimaginable. So we have been putting a lot of effort. Things have become too smart. And you could see the kind of generations in the mobile phones that you could see here on the screen, how a smartphone has evolved over the last century. Right from the huge ones to the much smaller ones and to the touch screen and up to 5G. And you have all smartphones, smart watches, smart TV, and so on. So if you look at our phones that we are using on our day-to-day basis, so we do not use phones just for making our calls to people. So if you want to play a movie, you want to probably play songs, you can use obviously mobile phones nowadays. And obviously all these mobile phones basically come inbuilt with the concept of what is called AI. AI is nothing but artificial intelligence. So whenever you talk of intelligence, we have two types. One is called human intelligence. The other one is called machine intelligence. So in the case of human intelligence, human beings will be able to understand, apply logic, do reasoning, and so on. And you will be able to solve a given problem. So that is called human intelligence. There are some smartest animals on the planet as well, which you might be aware of. For example, chimpanzees have much better memory than humans. Goats have excellent long-term memory. Elephants are well known to work as a group and so on. Here we are talking of what is called artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, as the term indicates, is going to be artificial. Artificial means man-made, so it doesn't occur naturally. So humans are going to be intelligent. So what we do is we try to bring in the intelligence into the machine, right? So that is called artificial intelligence. Intelligence as such can be in different forms in a human being. If a person is very good at music, he is said to possess more of musical intelligence. So one student is very good in solving mathematical problems. So he is very good in mathematical logic intelligence. One is able to just identify by looking at the pictures and so on. Then he is good at spatial visual intelligence and so on. So these are the different kind of intelligence. So what makes humans, right, going to be more intelligent than the machines? This is one very simple example I can show you. And that basically briefly describes the concept of decision making. In the picture that you see on the screen, there are 3 doors. Okay. So one person is put inside a room, and that room has 3 doors if the person needs to escape. So for example, the first door, what you can say is, has what is called a deadly shark, which is inside a lake. The second door has a mad psychopath who is ready to kill you with a weapon. And the third one has a lion that has not eaten since the last 2 months. Now, if I ask someone which door would you like to open and escape, either door 1, 2, or 3, what would be the answer? Normally, if you logically think, so as such, humans. So any idea? Can anybody unmute and tell if there are 3 doors, one with a deadly shark, one with a psychopath, and the third one with a lion, but it has not eaten for 2 months? Any idea what door would you choose as humans who are good in decision making? Yeah, I think there is some. Can you unmute and please tell? Hello, can you hear? 1 or 2 or 3? Okay, there is some audio issue. So basically what we would like to choose is door 3, because the reason is very obvious. I have already mentioned behind door 3, there is a lion that has not had food for the past 2 months. So obviously that lion would have been dead by now without food. So I would choose door 3, right? So this is what is a very simple classical example of decision making. So if you want to probably survive. Okay. One more thing. So if you see here, there are a few people sitting on the dining table. Shiv, Seema, and Aarti. And there are 2 other people sitting by the other side. So this is a very simple example of a scenario. I will tell you the scenario. Aarti invited 4 of her friends to her house. They had not seen each other in a long time, so they chatted all night long and they all had a very good time. In the morning, 2 of the friends Aarti had invited died. Then the police took up the case, came to the house for an interrogation and found that both the friends were poisoned, and the poison was just found in the strawberry pie. The 3 surviving friends who were there told the police that they have not eaten the pie. The police obviously asked why you did not eat. So Shiv said, I am allergic to strawberries. Seema said, I am on a diet. And Aarti said, I ate too many strawberries while cooking the pie, so I just did not want any more. So by looking at this picture, the police easily identified the murderer. And if I ask you what made the police to probably narrow down on the murderer, can anybody tell me what would be the reason they would have probably identified the murderer by looking at this picture? So obviously, when you look at the dining table, the police obviously narrowed down the murderer to be Seema, because the reason Seema gave was she is on a diet, but on her table, you could find, burgers, French fries, and so on, right? So this is what is the simple example of decision making. So what is AI? AI is a process where a machine possesses the ability to mimic the human traits. So in other words, how do you make or say that a machine is artificially intelligent so that it can do the tasks on its own? So when I say doing tasks by itself, it starts with collecting the data, understanding the data, analyzing it, learn from it, and then further improve. And you just remember the terms, collect data, understand, analyze, learn, and improve. And this briefly describes the AI project cycle, which we will be discussing in the further class later. So what are the different applications of AI around us that you can see? The first application that you see is very, very common, right? Everybody is aware of. The very first site everybody goes when you connect to the internet is google.co.in, right? So which is obviously a search engine that provides answers for whatever questions that you ask. The second is called Siri. Siri is a voice assistant, particularly supported by products from Apple. I think the other one you might be aware of, a pocket assistant called Alexa from Amazon. So which is called a voice assistant. So nowadays, when you want to make your house, intelligent, smart, you can do it. Where there are smart bulbs available, you can probably connect them with Alexa. And then what you do is you can pass on voice commands to turn on, turn off the bulbs, which are said to be smart and so on. The third most common application that we use very regularly is what we call it as the Google Maps, which everybody is aware of. Because, earlier when you want to go from one place to another and you are totally unaware of the route, probably you need to stop by the side of the road in a tea shop and then go ask the person and so on, where there were language barriers also. So here Google Maps has made our job much, much easier, right? So that is another thing, Google Maps. The other site which everybody uses almost very regularly, even to buy groceries as well, is the Amazon app, you can say, Netflix to watch movies, Instagram as a social media platform, and so on, right? So these are various applications of AI. So whenever I talk of artificial intelligence, you should also be able to understand what is not AI. Okay, now what is not AI? For example, if you talk of a fully automatic washing machine, I could say a fully automatic washing machine is not AI. Why? See, this machine can work on its own, no doubt, but it requires human intervention to select the parameters for washing, do the necessary preparation. You need to control before you need to select the function before each of the wash and so on and so forth. So this is an example of automation. This is not AI. So please understand, using a fully automatic washing machine is not AI. Similarly, if you have an air conditioner at home, yeah, the air conditioner can be turned on and off remotely with the help of internet. Yes, but still it needs human touch. So this air conditioning is an example of IoT, we call Internet of Things. So whenever you want to probably require human intervention, then that is not AI. Yeah. So you should basically, before we move on into the concept of artificial intelligence in deep, you should know what is AI and what is not as well, right? So all these air conditioners, that robo vacuum cleaners, automatic washing machines, all these are not artificial intelligence, which requires human intervention for their operation. So whenever you talk of artificial intelligence, right from the beginning to the end, there should absolutely be no human intervention. Yeah. So that is what we call it as artificial intelligence. A TV that you use at home could be smarter, but it is not AI enabled, right? It is not artificial intelligence. So remember that. Okay. Now, yeah, these are some of the buzzwords that you will normally hear. Yeah. So you start with AI. AI is a form of intelligence, no doubt. So there are three circles that you could see here. The outer circle is the AI. The middle circle is called ML, in short, we call machine learning. The innermost circle is called the DL, otherwise called deep learning. So you can say machine learning and deep learning are subsets of AI, otherwise called artificial intelligence. Okay. So we will see what is AI. We have seen at length, right? So AI is nothing but mimicking human intelligence. It will give the ability for the machine to recognize a human face, to move objects, manipulate objects, understand the voice commands by humans, and so on. You have what is called ML. ML stands for machine learning, which enables machines to learn by themselves using the provided data. See, for example, I can give you one simple example of ML, machine learning. So what is machine learning? So I will take a very simple example that could be used in a medical field. As everybody knows, one of the deadliest diseases in the world, and when you hear the term everybody is afraid of, is called, as you know, cancer, right? So cancer is one of the deadliest diseases in the world today. So finding what you call it as prevention mechanisms is still in progress under research. So using this concept, what we can do is, for example, I take the concept of cancer because, you know, my PhD thesis was basically in area of cancer, bioinformatics, where I had worked at the gene level. So what you do is, there are a lot of types of cancer nowadays that has come, but the most common type of cancer that you find in kids in the range of age groups between 5 and 15, for example, you say, is called leukemia. Leukemia is blood cancer, which is, very dangerous as well. That affects children in the age group of 5 to 15. So whenever you go to a doctor, they do a series of tests, including blood tests, scans, everything. Based on certain parameters, they may come up with a decision to say that, whether this child has cancer or not. Very simple problem. What we can do is, it is possible to predict this disease at the gene level. The gene is the human gene that each and every human being possesses in the human body. So you take a human gene, you process the gene, extract the features from the gene, give it to your computer, let the computer learn, then obviously the computer will be able to predict. What I would say is, this machine called a computer could complement a doctor. Please note, I am telling you the machine can only complement a doctor. The machine cannot replace a doctor, obviously. So because machine, as you know, a computer is an idiot box, right? A dumb machine. What you program is what is the output you get, right? So garbage in, garbage out is what you will get. Still, computer is an idiot box, right? So it has no sixth sense to think. It needs a training, lot of training to probably predict the output. So you will need thousands of samples like that, feed it into the machine, let the machine learn, then you do the testing. This is called ML, machine learning. Right? So that requires enormous effort from the programmer as well. Then the third category is called deep learning. Deep learning is again a subset of machine learning, where deep learning requires thousands and thousands of data to train itself, and only then you can go for testing. So deep learning is said to be the latest technology in the area of computer science research. So what you do is, you have a lot of applications of AI. So deep learning is one small subset of, you can call AI, and that is the hot topic of research that people do. But deep learning requires enormous amount of data in order to train your system, and only then, after successful training, you can go for testing the system, right? So this is what is the concept behind deep learning. So whenever we talk of an introduction to AI, AI has three broad domains, okay? The first domain is called, what you call it as, data sciences. The second domain is called CV in short, otherwise called computer vision. The third domain is called NLP, natural language processing. The first domain is called data sciences. So all these three domains we will study at length in the next session, maybe sometime next week, but I will just give you an introduction. So data science, as the term indicates, deals with enormous amount of data. So what is data? Data is useful processed information, right? That is what is called data. So you might question, where this data is required. For example, tomorrow when you go for probably buying a mobile phone, you just Google it, your model, and a lot of sites come up with the different prices. How does it pick? Obviously using the concept of data science. Another common example you can always think of, I would say, is there is a site and an app called Skyscraper. Skyscraper. You can install that app in your mobile phone if you would like to go and find out a hotel or a flight, you can just give the name of the place where you would like to stay, the check-in and the check-out date. Obviously, this app, Skyscraper app, will list down all the hotels available along with their pricing from different sites. Obviously, the pricing varies from site to site, if you know. So the pricing of a room of a particular hotel is not a constant across different sites, because each of the site wants to promote themselves. They may give you different offers on different dates. That is one example. The second example is what is called CV, as we call computer vision. So vision, human vision, we see through our eyes. We gather the data, process the data in our brain, and then you can probably get the output. Similarly, a computer vision basically talks of the vision of a computer, how the machine is capable to get and analyze visual information and then come out with the decision. So it includes taking an image, analyzing, identifying, extracting its information, and so on. It could be in terms of photographs, videos, pictures from sensors, indicators, thermal cameras, and so on. So what is an example of a computer vision? One classical example of computer vision is self-driving cars. Everybody is aware of. The one famous car everybody is aware of in self-driving cars, we call it as Tesla, right? The second application of computer vision is in the area of using face lock in smartphones, which is available nowadays, right? Most of the smartphones come up with what is called a face lock. So the front camera will detect and capture your face. It will save its features during initiation. Then after every time you would like to unlock your phone, you can show your face and the phone will get automatically unlocked. So if you look into this concept of face lock in smartphones, this comes with some kind of challenges as well, which you should be aware of. The face lock in smartphones is one of the simplest examples you can always think. So for example, in the university campus at Etimadai here, we have enabled what is called face recognition system for all the students staying in the hostels. We have about 6,500 students staying in the hostel. It is practically not possible for the warden to go to each of the rooms and take the attendance. So what normally is done is after 9 p.m., between 9 and 9:30 p.m., we will enable the face recognition system. So each of the student will come and stand for a few seconds in front of that machine. The machine will capture his face live, then mark the attendance. So initially, when we started implementing this, there were obviously few challenges, because that is what I told, that is what is AI, artificial intelligence, which is not so superior than a human intelligence. So for example, when you do the initiation, what we call, the features need to be saved during initiation. So when you would like to save the feature during initiation, so there would be somebody who would be sitting in front of the camera. Student will sit. There is somebody who will operate the camera and the computer to capture the face. There will absolutely be no problem. So all the 6,500 students' faces are now captured, put it into a database. Okay, done. Now, when you would like to implement the system in real time, what is the challenge? See, you open the software between 9 and 9:30 p.m. I do not have any of my people standing near the machine. See, some students, what they would like to do is try to probably fool the system. They will try to show different facial expressions, or they will show the side of their face, or they may put a towel on their face and then come and stand in front of the camera. So in such cases, the machine will not be able to recognize, because you have not taught the system, right? So the problem of the computer is what you teach exactly it will be able to reproduce. Yeah. So what will happen is, after this, what will happen? Every student does like this, about 50 students come and do the same thing. It will mark them as strangers, and so on. It will flag stranger. Then it is obviously a defect in the system. Because when I say defect in the system, as such, there is no problem with the hardware. There is a problem with the software because it was written to handle only a proper image of a face taken by a camera, where you stand in front of the camera will capture your face, compare it with what is available in the database, and then what it will do is say yes or no. That is what is called CV, computer vision. This is another interesting area of research. Then the third area that you should always be knowing in AI is called NLP, otherwise called natural language processing. What is natural language processing, or NLP? See, whenever you talk of a computer, a computer will be able to only understand bits, or what we call it as binary digit. See, a computer will not be able to identify and understand a human language that you and I speak in any of the typical languages. So what you need to probably do is, there should be some bridge, that will probably try to bridge the gap between, the human and the computer. And that is what is called NLP. So NLP is natural language processing. Okay. So natural language is the language that I and you speak, I and you write. So NLP will attempt to extract information from the spoken words, the written words, using very specific computer algorithms. Okay. I will show you a typical example of NLP, which you use on a day-to-day basis. One is called Smart Assistant. So Smart Assistant, like the Apple's Siri and the Amazon Alexa, basically works on what is called NLP, otherwise called natural language processing. So this is generally AI, artificial intelligence. Whenever you talk of artificial intelligence, we also need to talk of what are called AI ethics, where you are obviously migrating from information era to AI era. So there are certain moral issues that you need to take care. So second, data privacy. So every company, whether small or big, is mining data from as many sources as possible. More than 70% of the data collected now is being collected in the last 3 years. So it is not wrongly said that the data is the new gold, people call it. Yeah, these are some of the things you should remember whenever you use any kind of smart devices. Okay. So one of the major source of data for all the major companies in the globe is your smartphone. The smartphone that you carry is an integral part of your life. So we obviously use smartphones to call people, chat, use WhatsApp, use Facebook, Instagram, because order food, yes, listen to music, watch movies, do shopping online, or gaming, very important, right? Booking tickets, whatnot. You have everything in the touch of a button with you. So what you basically do is, you probably talk to your friend, you text him and so on. So when you are talking to your friend on a mobile network or on WhatsApp, for example, you tell your friend you would like to buy some new shoes and you are looking for suggestions from him. After that, you discuss about the shoes and so on and so forth. After some time, surprisingly, you could see there are a lot of online shopping websites that start giving you notifications to buy shoes, which means your mobile is monitored, your data is collected. If you search on Google for a trip to Kerala or any other destination, after you have completed your search, you will see a lot of advertisements, with a lot of packages that will ask you to probably buy suitable trips for your trip to Kerala. So in all the examples that we have seen, how does the smartphone get to know about the discussions that you had? See, whenever you download an app, right, application on your mobile phone, and you would like to install it, the application asks you for several permissions to access your phone's data. I blindly, without reading anything, give allow everything. Yeah. Once you allow the app permissions, obviously your data is compromised. Indirectly, you have given all permissions to access all the data that is available on your mobile. So that is how companies get your data. So whenever you install any application, so be very, very careful before you give any permission for anything, because the app will ask you, the app requires camera permission to use. The app will require the contacts to be accessed, including Telegram app or so on and so forth. So what is a smartphone? A smartphone is nothing but a box full of sensors. It is switched on all the time. It is powered on all the time, and you are continuously and closely monitored, right? So that is basically the idea of a smartphone. Whenever you talk of this, we also talk of AI bias. What is AI bias? So I would say artificial intelligence also is biased. How? For example, majorly all the virtual assistants that you see always have a female voice. So it is only now that some companies have understood this bias and started giving options for male voices also. But mostly the preferred voice for virtual assistants is female. So that is what is called AI bias. Second one, you open Google, you search for salons. The first few searches that are ranked on the top are going to be female salons, because the computer is trained that way. This is based on the assumption that if a person is searching for a salon, it is with all probability that it is going to be a female, right? So this is still biased, right? Okay, then what are the issues with AI? AI creates unemployment. Yes, that is an issue where, most of the works done by humans are being now replaced by AI, artificial intelligence. Similarly, AI for kids. Nowadays, you see a lot of technologies that are smart enough that kids can start using it from age 2. As their thinking capabilities increase, they become more tech savvy, So that is, for example, an young boy in class 3 has got some maths homework to finish. He is sitting at a table which has the Google chatbot Alexa. He is struggling with his homework. He starts asking Alexa to answer all his questions. Alexa will reply with answers, and the boy simply writes them in his notebook. Though this scenario seems to be very, very funny, but still there are certain concerns where, the boy uses technology effectively, no doubt, but he does not learn anything, right? He just asks the virtual assistant, he puts up a question, the virtual assistant gives answers, and he simply writes out the answers in his notebook and goes to school the next day. So which means there is no learning happening. Real learning is not happening because AI has come this far. Yeah. So this is what we would like to say in the first part. Despite AI's promises to bring forth new opportunities, AI also comes with what are called a set of associated risks that you would need to mitigate appropriately and effectively. So this gives you a brief introduction to artificial intelligence. We have seen some applications. What is AI? What is ML, machine learning? What is DL, deep learning? How each of them differs. What are the various applications of artificial intelligence? What is AI ethics you need to follow? What is AI bias? And at the last, we also have seen what are the various issues that might come up if artificial intelligence keeps growing. So we should not say technology should not grow. So what we should look at is how humans catch up with the technology. That is very, very important. Right? Technology is essential. Growth in technology is also needed. But how humans catch up with the technology is also very, very important to survive in this world. So this basically completes the first part of the lecture, which is Introduction to Artificial Intelligence. So before we move on into the AI project cycle, if there are any queries, we can answer. Else, we can move on into the AI project cycle, finish that, and then come back for the discussion as well. So whichever you are comfortable with, you can please tell me. Okay, fine. Otherwise, no problem. We will just try to complete the AI project cycle also, and then I will come back and probably try to answer if there are any queries. Okay. So the second part of the lecture basically focuses on what is called the AI project cycle. Artificial intelligence project cycle says when you want to get an output, you start with an input. We need to see the different steps that you need to follow in order to get the output. Let us start with a very simple example. Let us say your father or mother is going to have his or her birthday next week. So you are probably planning to make a greeting card, beautiful greeting card, and you would like to excite them. Okay. So what do you think are the steps that you would follow if you would like to create a greeting card? So obviously you will look for greeting card ideas from different sources. It could be online. You could watch some videos, gather the knowledge. Once you finalize the design, you would probably look at a list of things that you will need to make this card. Number 3, you will go back and look or check the kind of material that you would like to use. You will check whether you have it or not. If you don't have it, you will go buy it from outside. Okay. Once you have collected all the materials required to make the greeting card, you start making the card. If you make a mistake in the card somewhere, you cannot rectify it. What we do? You can simply discard it and again start back from square one. You start remaking the card. Once the greeting card is ready, you will probably gift it to your mother or father. Right? This is a very, very simple procedure, right? So I'm telling you this because you could relate this example with how you can use the AI project cycle. Okay, fine. So the AI project cycle that you see on the screen has 5 different stages. It starts with problem scoping, and I will explain each of the words one by one. Don't worry about it. Just to understand the terms, it starts with the problem scoping. Next is data acquisition. Third is data exploration. Fourth is modeling, followed by evaluation. So these are the 5 steps in an AI project cycle. We will see each of the steps one by one. The first step. So before you start off, what are needed, you should know, okay? So you need to acquire data, okay? That is the first thing. Data collection we call, so that you can start your project. So when I say data collection or data acquisition, what is the meaning? You need to go and collect data from various reliable and authentic sources. Since data will be very large quantity, what you do is you probably need a computer to probably feed in all this data. Second, you go for exploring the pattern. Then you test the model. Then you look at the most efficient model and you take that model as the base of your project. Then you develop the algorithm on that base model. And once the modeling is complete, you can test your model on the newly fetched data. So after the evaluation is done, the project cycle is complete. Okay, fine. Now, the first step is called problem scoping. As the term indicates, problem scoping basically looks at identifying the problem, number one. Number two, whether the problem that you are trying to solve is practically feasible and possible. That is the first thing you always need to look at. That is called problem scoping. So take a problem that is a part of our life. Then you look at whether the problem can be practically solved or not. Yeah, that is called problem scoping. Then next one is called data acquisition. As the term indicates, this stage basically talks of acquiring data for the project. Okay. Now, you should understand the term what is data. A data is nothing but a piece of information that you get. Okay. For example, if you want to make an artificially intelligent system which can predict the salary of any employee based on the previous salary, what is required? You will feed the data of the previous salaries into a machine. So this is the data with which the machine will get trained. It will learn. Once the machine is ready after learning, it will predict the next salary much efficiently. So here what happens is the previous salary data that you already fed it into the computer is called the training data. And the next salary prediction that you would probably get after proper learning is called the testing data. So when you want the testing data to be authentic, obviously it is mandatory that your training data is also relevant and authentic. So that is what is called data acquisition. Okay, now how to collect the data? There are different ways of going and collecting data. So you can collect data in the form of survey. You can collect data from sensors. For example, you go to a mall, there is an exhibition going on. They want to count the number of people visiting the different stalls. What you do? Put sensors on the main door, put sensors at different places, and you can obviously start counting. You can also collect data using suitable cameras or using suitable APIs, application program interface. Then once you have collected the data, you have enough data with you. The next step is called data exploration. See, while acquiring data, you might have noticed that the data is a complex entity. It's all full of numbers. If you go to a library and you pick up a random book, you first try to go through its content clearly by turning pages, reading its description before you go for borrowing the same, right? So which means you should know what is inside before you start to take it or make a decision. So the same thing applies here. That is called data exploration. Data exploration basically talks of after you have acquired the data, how do you explore the given data? Then the next step is called modeling. So modeling basically talks of developing suitable algorithms in machine learning or deep learning so that it makes the machine understand what you tell. Okay, so this modeling is very, very important. So what is modeling? The ability to mathematically describe the relationship between the various parameters is what is called modeling. So modeling is nothing but a mathematical approach towards analyzing the given data. So in modeling, you have two parts here you would have seen. The first is called a rule-based approach. The second one is called a learning-based approach. See, for example, when you talk of a rule-based approach, it is going to be very strict. It is rules, okay? Given a set of rules fed into your computer, and then you give a data, what the computer will do is it will take the data, compare it with the given rule and say yes or no. Very simple. So I will give you a simple example, okay? While testing the machine, we tell the machine that outlook equals overcast, temperature equals normal, humidity normal, wind is weak. On this basis of this testing data set, the machine will be able to tell if the element has been spotted before or not and will display the prediction. This is called rule-based approach. The elephant may be spotted or not is what we are looking at, okay? So this is called rule-based. So based on the given rule, which is going to be very strict, yes or no, it will predict. One drawback of this rule-based approach is these kind of rule-based approaches are said to be static in nature. Once the machine gets trained, later if you try to make any kind of modifications to the machine, then the machine needs to learn again. Otherwise, it is not possible. Okay. If you probably do some training to that machine, the machine has learned, and then later you try to change the data, obviously the machine will fail, no doubt. So similarly, in the case of a rule-based approach, another problem is the machine will not be able to improve its learning based on the feedback. So that is called rule-based approach. So a rule is given and you need to strictly follow this rule, no questions. The second type is called a learning-based approach. This refers to the AI modeling where the machine learns by itself. Okay. I will give you one example. There are two basic kinds of learning-based approaches that are available. The first is called supervised learning. The second one is called unsupervised learning. In the case of supervised learning, as the term indicates, supervised learning is learning under the supervision of a teacher. Okay, so this is what you all do in the classroom, right? So given a textbook, the teacher comes to the class every day, takes some lessons, and you are tested based on the concepts discussed in the class. That is called supervised learning. So if, for example, students get grades according to the marks they secure in the examination. So this is called supervised learning. The second is called unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning is learning in the absence of the teacher. So in the case of unsupervised learning, what happens is it is something like self-study. There is no teacher. So the data is fed into the machine at random. There is a possibility that the person who is training the model does not have any information about it. I do not have any prior information. So the unsupervised learning model is used to identify the relationship, pattern, or trends. See, the typical example of a supervised learning is either classification or regression. What is classification? Classification is nothing but where data is classified according to a class label. If you remember, I have told you one example earlier with respect to the prediction of cancer. If you take the sample data, there are only two possibilities. One is whether the child has leukemia or not, right? Cancer or normal. This is called a binary class problem, which means there can be only two possibilities, cancerous, non-cancerous, which means child is affected by cancer or child is normal. That is called classification problem. This is a supervised learning model. Next is called regression. Regression basically works with what we call it as continuous data. This example also I told you last time, if you remember some time back, if you wish to predict your next salary, you would put in the data of your previous salary, any kind of increments, etc., and you will train the model. So this is what is called regression. So classification and regression are two typical examples of supervised learning. The next one is called unsupervised learning. So what is unsupervised learning? As I told you, is learning without the presence of a teacher. See, for example, you have a random data of 1,000 dog images. I would like to analyze the pattern from it. What you do? You feed all these 1,000 dog images into your computer. You train the machine. After that training, what you do is you will come up with certain patterns that you will be able to use to identify whether it is a dog or not. That is called unsupervised learning. A typical example of unsupervised learning is called clustering. You can see there are two clusters here, if you could see on the screen. So based on certain features, they have classified these two clusters into two different clusters. The next one issue that you should always be remembering is what is called dimensionality reduction. Okay. What is dimensionality reduction? I will tell you in simple terms. Okay. See, dimensionality reduction means I told you one simple example of what we have worked out, right? Based on human gene information. See, if you take the human gene, I call it to be DNA. If you, most of you would have learned in your biology, right? What is DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid, right? So DNA is probably synthesized into protein. Before that, it becomes an mRNA, otherwise called messenger RNA, and so on. Once you have the protein, from the protein, you will be able to extract thousands of gene information. Okay, fine. From this thousands of gene information, only certain genes will contribute to the cause of cancer. Not all genes present in the human body will cause cancer. Another interesting thing you should always remember that in the human body, each and every human being born has some kind of a cancer gene that is inbuilt into your body, no doubt. But if the gene gets excited due to some reason, only then you will develop the symptom of cancer. Now, if you have thousands of genes, all of these genes do not contribute to the cause of cancer. My objective is to identify those genes that contribute to the cause of cancer. In that case, you need to do what is called dimensionality reduction. So what is dimensionality reduction? Dimensionality reduction basically talks of reducing the dimensionality of the data set using suitable methods so that your data becomes more meaningful and manageable. That is called dimensionality reduction. Once you have done all of these things, the next step is called evaluation. The same thing happens in your school, right? So the teacher comes to the class and teaches some subjects, supervised learning, teaches some lessons, gives you some homework. After that, there is some terminal examinations that are being conducted. The terminal examinations that are being conducted is what is called evaluation. Why do you need this terminal examination? This terminal examination will tell you whether a student is ready to appear for the main examination, the board examination or not. So this is what is called evaluation. So once the model is made and trained, it goes through proper testing so that you can compute the efficiency of the system or the model. So the efficiency of the system is measured in terms of 4 parameters, which we will see in the next session, sometime next week in detail. You can just know the 4 terms: accuracy, precision, recall, and F1 score. These 4 parameters will basically tell you how efficient your model is. This is what is called evaluation. So before we wind up the class for today, I would like to give you a very small brief introduction to what is called neural networks, which we will be discussing at length later. Maybe maximum I will take about 10 minutes. So by 3:15 we will wind up and then have 15 minutes for any kind of discussion if you would like to. And anyway, I will be also sharing this recorded video with you so that, you know, at the later stage, if you want to refer, you can always do it. Okay. Now, what is a neural network as the term indicates? A neural network is something where you would like to try to mimic what the human brain does. In biology, science we call in 10th. In science, you would have learned something about the human brain, right? A human brain is made up of millions of neurons. And these neurons will basically control the human behavior, right? How the humans behave will basically depend on these different neurons. So what I will try to do in a neural network is I will try to mimic how the human brain works using suitable algorithms. Okay, fine. Now, see this picture. This picture shows you 4 different parts. On the left hand side, you have the data, which I call it as the input. On the right hand side, you see what is called the answer, or in my terms, I call it as the output. In between the data and the answer, I see 2 things. You can see MLA plus hidden rules twice. Okay, fine. Now, this is basically an architecture of a neural network. Okay, so what does the architecture basically talk of? The architecture of a neural network says there are a set of inputs, there are a set of outputs. In between the input and the output, you have what is called processing. Okay, Same thing in a computer, right? A computer has an input unit. A computer has an output unit. It also has a CPU, the central processing unit. The same thing goes well here as well. So you have data on the left-hand side. You have output on the right-hand side, which I call it as the answer. In between the data and the answer, there is some kind of processing going on where you will take the input data, do the processing using suitable algorithms, and then give me the answer. So a neural network is said to be made up of different layers. If you look at this diagram, physically, if you count, I can count 4 layers. First one is data or input. Then number 2, machine learning algorithm plus hidden rules. Number 3, again, machine learning algorithm plus hidden rules. Number 4, answer. So theoretically speaking, this diagram that you see on the screen that talks of neural networks has 4 layers. But practically speaking, this neural network has only 3. How? So for example, if you talk of data, data is called the input layer. So in the input layer, there is no processing that happens in the input layer. So that layer need not be counted. So if you look at this diagram that you see here, this neural network has only 3 layers. So answer 2MLA plus hidden rules. Yeah. So this is what is the typical architecture diagram of a neural network. So some of the features of a neural network systems are modeled on human brain and the nervous system. They automatically extract features without input from the programmers. Every neural network node is essentially a machine learning algorithm, and you can easily solve problems for which the data set is very, very large. So in case if you have a very huge data set, it is obviously very easy to solve it by using a neural network. So this is a simple introduction to neural networks. So this concludes this session that you had requested on the basics of artificial intelligence and also on the AI project cycle with a small overview of neural networks, which we can see later in the next session sometime next week. So this concludes the first phase, which is the introduction to AI and the AI project cycle for today. So if anybody has any kind of doubts, you can obviously ask me now. You can also post it on the chat box that is available with Teams. You can contact your faculty there, staff there.